Comfy?
Yep.
You better be, because ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to this edition of the Halcyon Show. My name is Lorne Risley, host of the show, and today I got to just sit in awe for a little bit because we talked to a gentleman that I sort of met sort of on a half whim one day. We were cracking it up on social media and and it turns out he's kind of absolutely incredible, amazing, inspirational, and everything in between. And then I learned not only is he all of that and more, but then he became the thing that we're all saying to ourselves, oh, I could probably do that. He actually went and did the thing. So we're going to talk about how he went and did the thing. But first and foremost, we've got to introduce the man himself. It's David Williamson. I have a list of accolades here. I want to rattle them off very, very quickly because I want you to kind of just... I just want him to react to each of them, to be honest. So we'll just start with this one. And it's the most mind-boggling. And I'm sure it's the one that because I know this gentleman from Battle Rap and Battle Rap fandom and now as a performer, but I'm sure most of you know the fact that he did 30 marathons in 30 days. And I have to read that a couple of times because I go, no, seriously. No, seriously now. And no, it's not a misprint. It's not a thing. So as generally as I can ask this, the fuck do you manage that?
Do you know what? It's really easy. All you have to do is not die and just keep going.
I would be remiss if I didn't say, listen, I run occasionally, I go on a bike occasionally, and then when I get in, I curse God and all the things he's done to me in the 45 minutes to an hour that I spent, 30 of them in 30 days. Right. Walk me through what mentality it takes for someone to go, sounds reasonable. Yeah, sure, okay.
Okay, so you don't kind of fall out of bed one day and just go, I'm going to do 30 and 30. You build up to it. So I think the first thing I did was the Great South Run in Portsmouth, which is 10 miles. And I did that and it was really fun. And I did that a couple of times and I thought this is actually good. I did some fundraising for one of the big national charities, which was good, but that kind of did leave me feeling a little bit like I needed to have more of a connection with who I was fundraising for, and then that would just give me kind of what I needed to get from it, really. And then a guy I was working with, his niece has hydrocephalus. I may have said that wrong. It's basically kind of water on the brain, a couple of global developmental disabilities, and their family were looking to just fundraise because if you're at the moment in the UK, I ain't going to go too political, but disabled people are getting a real kicking because it's being portrayed that you can get PIP just by saying you've got a headache and you get given a Ferrari for a mobility car. Raising a disabled child, especially one with really serious needs, is incredibly expensive. So you need everything from transport to chairs to kind of medical facilities kind of in the house. So my friend who I was working with was kind of telling me about this. I was like, well, I've got another Great South Run coming up. Why don't I do that? And I found, I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I found a copy of the message I sent to the little girl's mum, and it was so clumsy. And it was like, you don't know me, but I work with your brother, and he told me about your little girl, and I'm doing the Great South Run. Would it be all right if I fundraised for you? Which must be such a weird message to get, but she was really, really graceful. So I did the Great South Run for her, and we raised, some money, some decent money. But I really thought I could do a little bit more. And at the time, my daily routine was to push to and from work every day in the wheelchair, it was 2.5 miles from door to door. So I was doing 5 miles every day. So you've got to have something to kind of occupy your brain, and kind of got bored listening to music. So I just started kind of imagining what I could do next that would really be helpful. And I just thought, where I work, so I got to work, and it's called Lakeside because it's by the side of a lake. And then I would do a circuit of the lake. And I just thought, why don't I do that for 24 hours? I wonder if I could. Yeah, I reckon I could. So I just kind of every day on the way to work, I would kind of visualize it. I'd visualize the first lap and the last lap, and I figured everything else would take care of itself. So I kind of approached the people I was working for and people I was working with and said, do you reckon we could do this? And then I had to talk to the building management team and kind of get their permission. And this comes like a really important part of the story. So I had to get public liability insurance for £1 million because we were going to have people on site through the 24 hours. I had to have public loos for people to use because the building was going to be shut, and you had to have kind of facilities for people to use. And I had to have medical staff on site because the public was going to be there. So I had to kind of arrange all these things, and the public liability insurance was fine, just paid for it. Didn't have a clue where to get portaloos from, but my stepsister knew a company who do like festivals and stuff, so she contacted them. And then for the medical staff, we contacted St John's Ambulance. And this is the really cool bit. The company who did the portaloos said they'd do it for free because it was a really good event. They thought what I was doing was pretty cool. We'll give you a couple of portaloos for free. Awesome. Phoned up St John's Ambulance just to make sure they were coming, and they said every year we pick one event where we do it for free. And what you're doing is so cool. What you're doing is great. We're going to give you our staff for free for as long as you need them. And I'm not saying that to make out that I'm this most amazing person that everyone just really wants to support because I'm so cool. It's that I've had so much help and support, and I would never have got as far as I have done without people just going, yeah, we'll help. We'll do this. We can either give you our time or we can give you our facilities or whatever. So I've always said, when it comes to these events, I'm like the least important person in the whole thing because I'm just sat in a wheelchair. I just have to make sure my arms keep going, make sure I don't fall out, just do what I said I was going to do. But it's all the other people around who are giving up their kind of time and energy and support that make it what it is. So it would be really remiss of me not to kind of say that, and I say that every chance I get because it's that Isaac Newton standing on the shoulder of giants thing. You're never going to get as far as you want to or can do if you've not got the people around you, or at least I wouldn't. Some people probably can, but I certainly couldn't.
And the graciousness is appreciated. Pack it in, because the physical rigors that you're exposing yourself to and enduring, for context, because people need to look, maybe some people have some frame of reference. Maybe you've done a marathon, or maybe you've done a wolf run, or maybe you're a gym freak and you'd like to do your 10k on the treadmill, right? What people may not be cognizant of is, and I only relate to this very, very, very minutely because I used to cycle to and from work. I used to cycle about 40 miles a day, 7 days a week, sometimes 6. And I did that for a year and a half, right? Now, what I don't tell you about that is oh, God, that sounds very good. No, the physical toll it exerts on you. I started feeling like I was carved of wood, like, oh no, I'm not human anymore. And every time you stand up and sit down, you're reminded of it. And obviously the rubbing, the constant rubbing. Like, you've got to tell me about the physical toll it took on you to do those things, the physical exertion, what you had to do mentally and physically to get yourself to a place to be able to contend with it. I know that you did it for impossibly altruistic reasons, but that doesn't negate the fact that you've got to take yourself to a certain place to be able to do it. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, after the 24-hour push, I pulled all the muscles in my forearms, and then the taxi didn't turn up to take me home. So I ended up pushing home as well. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, the taxi is out. Okay, so let me think to myself. Right, call a friend, call an ambulance. It's a physical injury.
Well,
no, the reasonable thing to do in this situation is carry on going. That's the reasonable. Anything short is just
I'd be cheating people donated. For the 30, I think it was like day 18. Because I was still in London, or maybe it was a bit earlier than that. The people did get worried because I can't remember exactly what it is. I probably should do, but basically my eyes went really bloodshot. And what happens is if you exert yourself incredibly, incredibly physically, the blood vessels in your eyes kind of burst. So I was like, my eyes aren't bleeding, but they don't look right. And then, we had some concerns there. And the first 15 days I did in London at Crystal Palace, which I remember as a kid, it was amazing because you saw it on TV. You had like Linford Christie and Sally Gunnell and people like that. When I arrived, it looked like it was from post-war kind of Berlin. Just really run down. The really famous scoreboard was just home to like families of pigeons and stuff. But the track was still fine, and there was still Olympic athletes would train there. But there was absolutely no shade, and I think it was the hottest day of the summer, and I was just there, and there was a little tap by the track, and I was like literally filling my cap up with water and just dumping it straight on my head because it was ridiculous. But every kind of afternoon after I'd finished, I'd go back to I was staying in accommodation at the stadium, and the thing that was really hard was that it was really lonely, which sounds funny because I was only there for 2 weeks. But people would come up and see me and spend time with me during the events, but then you just kind of go back to a pretty stark kind of bedroom, and I was starting to get really lonely. I was starting to get really homesick. So I was meant to do all 30 days up in London, and halfway through I was like, I ain't doing this. I need to go home. So I went back to Petersfield, which is a little kind of village town in Hampshire, and my plan was that I came up with along Southsea seafront. If you go up and down 4 times, it's 26 miles. So I thought I could do that 4 times, and then I'll just do a bit more. And I've got the app on my phone which tells me how far I've gone. And what was fantastic about that, it was the best decision I made. And then people could come down from like on their lunch breaks from work or along at the weekends. The big difference was it really changes the game, because when you're on a running track, it's very boring and it's very dull, but it's very easy. You just keep going. When you're in Southsea seafront, it's a little bit like one of those 1980s platformers, in that you're like on the ZX Spectrum. So you're going along, but you've got to avoid like the granny with her fish and chips, or the child running out for a hush puppy, or kind of dogs just chasing whatever. But it was really busy, and it was such a different vibe. And the really funny thing was that I had my mum there one day. My mum lives in Ireland, so I don't see her too often. And mum's being mum, she was super proud. One thing with fundraising is you've got to be absolutely spotless in terms of the money going where it needs to go, because you can take decades to build up a reputation, as I have, and then if there's a slightest worry that money's going missing, that reputation's blown. So what my mum was doing was just walking up and down this little bit of the seafront saying, "Have you seen my son? He's doing this," and then getting her to give her cash money. And then she'd come over and go, "I've got 40 quid here." Where's it come from? Have you given them a receipt? What's going on? She's like, "Oh no, they just gave us." It's like, okay, please don't do this. Please, I mean, thank you. Please put it in now into the thing. Go online and just put it in. But it was just kind of, it was a very mum thing to do, and of course she can understand why I was worried. But I just had kind of images of headlines of marathon man steals cash on Southsea seafront or something like that.
Okay, so I'm glad you've touched on it maybe a little bit earlier and here now, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is because your advocacy for the disadvantaged, disabled, and everyone in between is pretty synonymous with you at this point. But one of the other things that I know about you is this: you don't tend to mince your words about your frustrations when it comes to the treatment of people like. Basically, people who need help. It's as simple as that. These are people that need support, need understanding, kindness, and empathy. One of the things that I think is interesting about what you've said there a couple of times as well is the need to check yourself, to be forthright, to be honest. But one of the things I've noted about some of your discourse is how frustrated you are at some of the people that are in charge of certain aspects of doling out the assistance that's required to help people. What I wanted to ask you, and I'll try and keep it light, because I don't know how off the deep end you want to go with this. If you want to just cut a 20-minute effing promo, then go nuts, man. But what I wanted to ask is, I wonder how you feel having contributed as much as you've contributed to getting the ball rolling on some of these things, i.e. fundraising and raising awareness. how you feel the current state of the support from the top down is. I mean, again, go into as much detail as you feel you need to, be as voracious as you want to, or everything in between. But I have to know how you feel about it, because ultimately, man, with all due respect to everything you do, I would see it as a responsibility of our government to support and aid people. The fact that you're having to intervene, I deem a failure. But how do you look at it?
So there's a couple of points we need to make. I think famously, I don't even know if it's true, there's a saying that there's no charity in Germany because the government does its job. So there's no need for things like that. And I think, right, really important thing is to kind of place myself where I am, which is kind of very near the bottom of the totem when it comes to people who are doing campaigning and raising awareness. So there's, particularly since kind of, children have come along and everything, there are many people out there who do much more than I do or have ever done. So we certainly shouldn't kind of think that I'm kind of the bastion of that.
No, but we should definitely say though, and sorry to cut you off, because I feel like you're going to undersell yourself. You're humble to a fault. I have done precisely fuck all for the advocacy of the disabled beyond supporting my mother and supporting my grandmother, both of whom have pretty severe disabilities. But that's my responsibility as a family member. That's a different thing. In terms of the contribution made to the awareness of it and the advocacy for funding for it, you have made an indelible mark in both of those respects. And so I respect your opinion when it comes to these things more than people that I might otherwise be able to talk to. I have to know how you feel about it.
I think, okay, so we touched like the current kind of media backlash, if you like, against disabled people, where we thought the Conservative government was bad. First of all, you have to recognise, so there's a big thing that we'll take away PIP so that disabled people go and get jobs. If you look on like the National Register of Jobs, nationwide, there's a bare minimum of remote-only jobs. It's really tiny, and also a big issue, which this is going to be difficult to explain to kind of what is predominantly an able-bodied audience, but there's something called the social model of disability, and that kind of talks about how, yes, I might be disabled, but I'm more disabled by the environment that I'm in than by my disability. So if you want disabled people to go out and get jobs, you need to make the offices accessible. You need to make the equipment available. If you do all that, you can't just go and get a job. There aren't any. It's almost like the 80s under Thatcher again. It's really difficult. I'm really disappointed in what Labour have done. They've come in. They've decided to kind of break the banks of or try and balance the books rather on the backs of disabled people. There's an old quote that the mark of a civilized society is one that looks after the vulnerable. The strong can support themselves. So, and shout out to ScoMo. He was the first person to say it in a rap battle, but not the first person to say it. Being disabled is a minority that anyone can join in a split second. So you kind of see some of the chat on Twitter, which I'm still convinced is 90% bots, but kind of really lambasting disabled people for needing cars or needing support. Well, why don't and you just think to yourself, but there goes, there, but for the grace of God goes you. It's really difficult to kind of put across as well. So hate crimes against disabled people have raised massively, coincidentally, since 2016. I'm sure none of us who have an idea about politics and what's happened over the last few years is surprised by that. It's very much an otherism, if that's the right word. It's very much the person. It's that old cartoon with the cookies, where you've got the guy with all the cookies, and you've got one person with one cookie, and then one person, and it's like, he's going to steal your cookie, and it's like that, and it's really surprising and sometimes shocking when you just go to the pub and people can be openly aggressive because you have a disability. I also have to check my privilege here, because I'm white, I'm straight, I'm middle class, I'm male, and I'm disabled. So I'm disabled in that minority. So in terms of online abuse, I see like a fraction of what my kind of friends do. So again, I'm really lucky. I kind of almost feel like I'm not the right person to talk about this, because being that white straight male, I miss out on a lot of that lived experience, which I'm very grateful that I miss out on, because I've seen some of it and it's horrendous. It's horrible. I guess this is the world we're living in at the moment. But what is strange is when I was a kid and the support I needed, whether it was artificial legs or even someone coming to the house to kind of put an extra banister on the stairs so I could get up and down, it all seemed to be in place. And since then, it's just, I guess it's like the kind of sure start centres that have shut down, and just everything seems to have gotten worse. And I realise I sound like a kind of boomer going, "Oh, things aren't as good as they were in my day." But in that aspect, it feels true, at least.
I would respectfully suggest to you that they have, because temperaments and attitudes have changed. I'll put myself in this a little bit. When I was in year 6, however old I was, in the school I was in, I remember distinctly there was a time where we didn't have anyone that was disabled at all, and they made a big day. There was a young girl that was going to be joining the school about a month in advance, and they said, right, just want to bring you on, sit down. Right, so here's the situation, here's who this is, here's what she has, here's what it does. So we want you all to be accepting, understanding, treat her with respect, give her space, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and we're going to be making some changes, but it's for her, and it's because of this reason, right? They made a big deal out of it, and I'll never forget it, because all it did really was preempt her arrival, and then she was just off to the races. It never really became an issue again, because just everyone, oh, that's just so-and-so. That's her, and oh, yes, she's got this, and no big deal, and da-da-da-da-da. But it wasn't something that was really mentioned ever again. And I think the reason for that is because the care, the attention, the sense of community, this idea that, right, we all need you to kind of support her in this, okay? We understand that it's a lot to ask of all of you because you're young kids, but we're trying to teach you acceptance from a very base level of she's just trying to go to school. The way
my mum did exactly the same thing. So when I was 4, ready to start school, my mum literally had to ship me around every school in the area. They didn't want to take me, and eventually we found one that would. And their big concern was what would happen if I fell over, to which my mum replied, he'll get himself up. And then on my first day at school, so yeah, 4 years old, went in, my mum basically took my legs off in front of my classmates, said, this is David, as you can see, he hasn't got legs, so he's got these metal ones. You know, the only question that was asked, and this is where 4-year-olds kids' minds are, like, has he got a metal willy? That's all they wanted to know. And as the parent of a 3-year-old, I can see that, you know, my boy would probably ask something like that. But I had the very same experience as kind of your schoolmate, in that people just let me get on with it. If I fell over, they might come over and like kind of get on all fours next to me so I could clamber up using them. But and then when I went to senior school, this is what's really interesting, because I had that really huge support network. When I was 11, my parents split up and I went to a senior school where I didn't know anyone. Because I was so used to everything being cool, in my head it was. And it was only years later, kind of friends told me, oh, he used to bully you. He used to bully you. And I was like, really? What did I do? And like, oh, you just laughed and walked off. Because I assumed it was a joke. Because I was always used to people just joking. So when people were like horrible to me, it didn't even register. And because I was so used to go out and playing football every day, like I was 11, the 16-year-old year 5 kids were out playing football. I just ran out and asked to play. And they were just a bit kind of nonplussed, I think, at this. How can this 11-year-old first year with metal legs? Okay, then, yeah, cool. And then, of course, I was like, everyone was jealous of me in my class because I was playing with the big kids, playing football every day, and they weren't allowed because they were just first years. So it's amazing what that start can do for your levels of confidence. And I was
Agreed.
also it felt like every week, but it couldn't have been. There was a really big disabled sports society. So every couple of weeks we were going off to different disabled sports clubs. We were doing every sport under the sun. You were kind of getting medals, which for a little kid is just a huge confidence boost. Come home and show me, Dad, like, I want a medal for archery or whatever. Usually not hurdles. But it was just everything was in place to give me that start. And now you only get those things if someone goes off and fundraisers for you, which just seems like a massive shame.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of behind the scenes here, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, as you might note, I didn't read an intro. I had to sort of ad-lib an intro today. The reason that I didn't write one is because I was reasonably confident. And when I say confident, 99.999% sure that I was going to write something. And at the end of it, that gentleman there would go, I'm sorry, what? And he would find things to reference that I'd go, oh, no, not what I meant at all. Because he has made it his mission in life, ladies and gentlemen, to pick me apart. It's why I'd never battle him. Because I know it would just be him rebuttaling my round for 30 seconds going, sorry, just, you all heard him, right? Okay, and go. And I'd be eviscerated. So I just need you all to know that's why I dared and I took no risks with this show, save for me being just putting my foot in my mouth at some point during the conversation, because he's a sly one, this one. Sly. Okay, and he's only gotten sly since he became a battler, which we have to get into at some point. But I want to ask you one last question about your advocacy for a second, because here's the thing. Obviously, you've given a lot and you've received a lot in terms of, you know, adulation, affirmation, you know, the funding and all the rest of that sort of stuff. But what I would want to ask is, because I don't know if it's something I see encouraged a lot these days. It's not something that people are really, especially at my age, they're really encouraged to think, well, what can you do to give back? What can you do to contribute? How can you affect change, rather than just going online and banging on and kicking off and all the rest of it? How can you actually go and affect change in a positive way? What would you say to people to try and spark their interest, or to try and elicit that kind of response, rather than just, we need everyone to get on Twitter and get mad for 2.5 hours before something invariably comes up that diverts our attention, like you've done? Like you've gotten in the game. It's not just a case that you've sitting there and pontificated. You've actually contributed. What would you say to people like me and others who would probably, if they had the time, no, I do have the time, that's the point. If I just switched my attention and gave my time and effort towards a cause that I believed in?
I don't think I would, because you're not going to do it unless you really care about it or you really believe in it. So the comment I get most is, you're so inspiring. To which I reply, okay, what have I inspired you to do? Nothing.
So that's the batter up in him. He's flipped it straight away. It's like, oh, you're so inspiring. Inspired what, bitch? What have I inspired in you? Except for nothing. Exactly.
Here's how I think it goes. So unless you've got skin in the game, you're not going to do anything for anything in particular. So I haven't done any fundraising lately in the last few years. A, because I've got kids. B, I've not found that thing that really gets me. A few years ago, I got a message. It was about 3:30 in the morning, so I didn't get it the next day. And basically what had happened is a guy called Lee, and his son was able-bodied up to the age of about 4. Then a cyst developed in his spine, and he was, to all extents, then in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. And this was, I can't even imagine how it made his parents feel, because they were completely helpless. They were completely helpless. They couldn't do anything. They were facing years of medical kind of surgeries and everything else. As a disabled child of parents, I have an insight into how difficult it can be to be a parent of a disabled child. And they had basically found some newspaper bits or kind of stuff about me on the news. And it just gave them that little bit of hope. Actually, maybe things are going to be okay. Maybe their kid can still just have like a really productive life doing the things he loves. And that was a hell of a message to get. And I just thought, what can I do to help? I can't help medically. I can't help financially. What can I do to help? And I'd not long been kind of given an award by the local newspaper really for an event, and I think it was like a personal achievement award. And I was kind of looking at that, and I was thinking, well, I can't just give it to the kid, because I know if I get given an award that someone else has earned, I'd kind of feel, cheers. But I thought, what about if I sent it to him and said, look, this is my award. I want you to keep this until you've earned your own, and then you can give it back to me. And I did like a handwritten 5-page letter, just kind of to the parents, really. That's who I was really trying to reach. Just putting down kind of all my kind of philosophies and thoughts and everything else. And then I didn't know this till later, but when they got the package, Emerson, little boy, had been in hospital for kind of a long time. They'd both been in hospital with him for a long time. They'd pretty much been ordered out of the hospital by staff just to go and get some rest. And then they got home and they found this package waiting for them. And his mum just told me she just kind of burst into tears. It was just kind of what she needed at that time. So if you're trying to inspire people, it's not about trying to get someone to go out and climb Mount Everest or go into space or become a Paralympian. Sometimes it's just letting them know that things are going to be okay. Just breathe, just relax. You'll get through this. And then you'll face the next huge heap of shit that comes along, because that's how life works. But you'll get through this. Also, on that point, we need to stop thinking every disabled person wants to be a Paralympian. Not everyone does. Let it go, folks.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. I went to a party once, and I got cornered by this guy. He was like, "You're a double amputee. Why aren't you Oscar Pistorius is in the..." This was before Oscar Pistorius did his whole kind of killing people thing. But he basically said to me, "Oscar Pistorius has got 2 artificial legs. You've got 2 artificial legs. Why aren't you in the Paralympics?" Luckily, I'd rehearsed this. I didn't come up with it off the top of my head. I'd rehearsed this before, because I knew it was going to come up. And I said, "Well, you've got 2 legs. Neil Armstrong has got 2 legs. Why aren't you on the fucking moon?" It's as simple as that.
That's sorry. That might be something that we both agree after the fact to edit out. The hospital, before the whole him going around killing people thing.
Well, he did kill people. That's not libel. That's not news. Have you not heard about this?
I've heard about it. I don't think I've ever heard it described like that. Like it was his emo face or something. Fucking hell.
I compared Anki to him in our battle.
Oh yeah. I suppose that's where that comes from, in the sense of, oh man, we can't delay it any longer. Battle rap. Right, let's do the hard turn, because, ladies and gentlemen, were it not from that wonderful genre that you and I both love, I would have never probably come across this gentleman.
No,
because
remember when I met you, I just shouted out like, "Podcast dude!"
Yeah, something, podcast guy, podcast dude, something like that, and I was like, huh? And he's like, yeah, because it was out. I'll tell you what it was. It was outside of match day 5, I want to say, in Manchester.
Yeah, Bizzo versus Bobby.
Big Bobby for the second time, and yeah, had a good long conversation, and yeah, lo and behold, in the as the event progressed, it felt more and more like, man, I could cover this on a regular basis. This would be good. Don't go off at anyone. Forgot that second part. But the point I'm making is that battle rap, your fandom of it, your following of it, right? I've told my story about how I became introduced to battle rap a million times. Tell me yours.
It is probably going to be the same story as most people of a certain age, in that I saw 8 Mile, really liked it, saw some bits around, and then kind of lost interest in it. Went back to it from time to time, and then I think it was Tony versus Osh that really got me interested in it again, because it's Tony and it's O'Shea. Although at my workplace, I do remember the Marlow Shuffle Bad Bars that went all round where I worked. Everyone was just literally going crazy for that. People who had no interest in it at all, they just, you know, and that's the thing. People who had not really any interest in it just kind of enjoyed it, but then didn't kind of see it again. But the people who it really sparked something in have kind of. I'm still in touch with some of them now.
Let me ask you then, what was it about it that really captivated you? Because I don't think it's like anything else. There's elements of it that are similar to other aspects of entertainment, or the competitive element, yada yada yada. But it's a unique amalgamation, and it speaks to everyone in a different way. How did it speak to you when you first saw it in terms of a UK battle rap context, rather than the 8 Mile context, which is hyper sensationalized and hyper dramatized and all the rest of that jazz?
I think the creativity and the wordplay and just using words to kind of paint that picture, and in that's a little bit better, in that really just a way I'd never heard before. Because I was more a kind of a rock kid than a hip hop kid, and kind of my age group. I suppose the Doggy Style album was big. My sisters, I think, had some of the NWA stuff, but it wasn't really something I'd been hugely kind of into. But just seeing how they could kind of put words together and flip stuff around, and I couldn't explain it. I didn't have a clue how they did it. Like, I just sat back like, this is stunning. And that kind of ability to use words in such a to me very almost unthought of kind of way. And then just, I think also it's a little bit like a three-ring circus, in that there's something, if you're not into gun bars, then there's comedy stuff. If you're not into comedy stuff, there's kind of straighter stuff. There's something. I'm someone who's really not into gun bars, because I can't relate at all. I can appreciate how they put stuff together, but it's not something I'd necessarily go back to.
What was if you can, because again, I'm weird. I can remember the first time that I heard something because my first ever proper exposure was Shotty Arsenal.
Okay.
And Shotty's first round obviously was fucking ridiculous, but what got me was the retort from Arsenal, because what it set in me was, this is a proper battle when both guys are at a reasonably equal level, but impossibly high level, just fucking taking lumps out of each other, but taking the audience with them at the same time, right? They've got reactions, they've got laughter, they've got that antagonistic nature. Both guys are really into each other's fucking faces and all the rest of that sort of stuff. That's what hooked me. It's that moment where everyone's like, oh shit just got and it's like, wow, these people really care. And wow, wait, I care. Yeah, tell him. Like, what was the moment for you that really, right, oh shit, I'm hooked now? What, if you can remember?
Do you know what? The bit that really got me into it, because before this, I was more like a casual fan. Like, I'd see the Don't Flop stuff. One battle I really, really loved, and I've told Quill this. So in 2014, I think, I was in hospital quite a lot. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I found that Quill Ogmios battle from Don't Flop, and I probably watched that like, I don't know how often, just over and over again, because I was so ill and I was in such a crap place in hospital. It was like, okay, that'll give me 30 minutes of laughing every day. And then I kind of lost interest a bit, and I'd see bits here and there. But I think the one that really got me was probably Bobby versus Rivers. And that whole thing from Bobby about how can a man of God face the wrath of Satan or something, and he's just so like a juggernaut. And I mean, I absolutely love Rivers. I do. Some of his stuff is incredible, but Bobby at that moment, so it probably wasn't even a battle. I think it was just Bobby doing that, because every battle I'd seen up to then was probably quite jovial and quite nice. Like, there was some bits going on, but I'd not seen anything like it before. And do you know what? Actually, this is going to sound weird. I was watching it last week again, because I go back to it every so often, and watching Bobby do that, gave me the same feeling as like a 7-year-old kid watching John Barnes for the first time play for Liverpool. Like, I couldn't figure out how he'd done it. I couldn't explain it. All I could do is just sit back and just be like, wow. So probably that. And I think there's probably quite a lot of people who'd say probably Bobby was, the same thing that kind of got them in. So, thank you for that, Bob. And I've met him a few times at events, and at that Manchester event, he carried my wheelchair down the steps, and then when we were in London, he like gave me a little boost up a step as well. Proper nice geezer. So, but I don't know if I'd like to be on the end of one of those.
My exact point. I equate it more like I rewatched these recently, and that moment when Bane puts his hand on the guy's shoulder and says, "Do you feel in charge?" And you feel the air sink, and you sink in your chair watching this poor man be so mercilessly bullied by a person who sees nothing wrong with imposing his strength and will on the situation. You go, fuck me, that's what it must be like when Bobby really tears into you and goes like, "'Cause I'm a man," and you go, whatever you say, you fold under that pressure. But the point I'm making with that is, that's Bobby all over, right? And as a fan, you love to see that aspect Bobby personify and epitomize. But then you've got, like you say, the more jovial battlers. Like Shuffle T for me was the sort of the follow through to everybody else. Shuffle led to Marlowe, led to Pedro, led to a lot of it, and then suddenly these branching fandoms appear within battle rap for me, right?
Yeah.
And what I wanted to ask is, as far as your fandom is concerned, obviously, I imagine like mine, it's had its peaks, it's had its troughs, because the scene itself has kind of stopped and started. But what I wanted to ask is, you're pretty well respected within the community outside of your status as a battler. Like, people just generally respect and really appreciate your opinion when it comes to battling. What I wanted to ask is, why has battle rap in particular stuck with you? I mean, you could be a fan of fucking boxing, MMA, stamp collecting, but you seem to really be passionate about battle rap. What is it about battle rap, the community, or the genre, the entertainment form, that really just kind of speaks to you more than most things?
First off, I don't know if I'm respected that much of an opinion. I'd like to think so, but I always get a bit
this humility does not suit you, my friend. We need to get you a giant fucking sign that says humble, so you can just press that before you say what you say. It's just humility.
It's just I'm always aware that whether it's in fundraising or marathons or anything, there's so many people who have done so much more and gone so much further. And as far as battling goes, I've had one tryout which was all right. So can you call yourself a battler after one tryout? I'm not sure. I don't know. So I always speak as a fan. I've forgotten the question, actually.
He loves the threat. Being humble. I love it. Who cares what the question is? Tell me about your first battle, man. I know that you consider it a tryout, all the rest of it, but tell me about your first battle, because I remember you telling me you were going to do it. I remember going, that is so fucking insanely cool. I remember you saying, I did it. And I remember asking you how you thought it went. And you said, pretty good. I think it went all right. And I remember watching it and saying, you fucking nailed it, kid. Well done. But how do you feel about it? The whole thing, from starting, committing to fuck it, I'm going to do it, to preparing for it, to now doing it, to now looking back on it.
Well, the first thing that was in my head was I didn't want to turn up and choke or not be prepared or be half-hearted or lackluster. Firstly, because my ego wouldn't let me do that, but also if whatever platform you're on, it's been built by someone else. So just the idea of turning up and disrespecting everyone else who's done that by just being half-assed about it. So I was literally every day, probably 4 times a day, going over them. I'd get up in the morning, I'd get the kids dressed and ready for nursery or whatever, and then I'd go in the bathroom and I'd do them, and then on my lunch break I'd run through them again. I wanted to know them backwards. I still had a couple of really tiny stumbles, but I don't think they're too noticeable. And I knew Anki was going to be really prepared as well. He was meant to have a battle before me, and his opponent just ghosted him. And then when our battle was set up, he couldn't make the first one for, I think, really, really legitimate reasons. It's not my story to tell. But and then so when we did get there, and I remember I'm not used to battle rap time yet. So like in Manchester, it said on the flyer doors open at 12, so I got there at 5 to 12, and then the first battle was like 2 hours later. And even with my one, I was there early. He was outside. Troy was outside, so I was talking to Troy for a little while, which was really nice because I've not really had the chance to talk to him before. So it was really nice to talk to him. And then it was like 2.5 hours later, and by that time you're just so wound up. But Anki did his first, and I felt my first would beat his. And I knew I'd kind of pagan doing a little walk in, which I'm really annoyed about now, because have you seen that video of like the guy in the wheelchair that Tay Rock brings on?
I have not. No, explain.
So yeah, it's a battler in a wheelchair, and he gets escorted on by Tay Rock, and I get pagan. I mean, that is unfair. That is. I need an upgrade really quick.
Oh, poor Pagan. Come on. Pagan's pretty fucking good, man. He's pretty good.
I love pagan, but I like to dig him. I like to jab him every now and then. But yeah, God, what a run he is on, by the way. He is.
His last one against Bentner is pretty fucking good, man. I really rated his second, actually, in particular, I thought was pretty fucking good.
And before that, I think it was before the academy started, he had TKE, and then before that he had Quicksilver, and he was really good in all of them, really up and up. So yeah, I had Pagan do a little thing for me. He won't be doing it again now. And then Anki second, I still don't get it. He kind of stripped off and he was wearing like a Greg's jumpsuit, and I still don't know what that meant. I've no idea. But he was good, and he had one line in that. You look like 3/5 of Excodia or something, which is I think like a Yu-Gi-Oh reference, and I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's the thing with the pop culture reference, that look, you live and die by people going, oh, I understood that reference. If it doesn't, it's like there's nothing more tragic in battle rap than when you have to turn to the audience and go, no, it's really clever, look. tragic, but you got to roll the dice, haven't you?
The thing is, people in the room really liked it, and I know people said to him at events like afterwards, that was a really good line, but I just sat there a bit kind of, I don't get it, but people are laughing, so okay. But yeah, I still thought my second would beat his after he'd performed it. I knew there were bits in my second which were a bit kind of clunky, but I also knew that able-bodied people are always a little bit taken aback when a disabled person makes a joke about themselves that is actually funny, or about someone else that is actually funny. So I had the line in my head, you walk like the back end of a pantomime horse, and I just had to figure out how to get there, and the way I got there was really clunky, but I knew it would work. And then I had some really stupid like horse bars afterwards, which were meant to be just like to get that groan going. That was it. Yeah, stop trying to be the centaur of attention. It's awful, it's really awful, but I knew what I was trying to do with it, because then I knew it would lead me up to that's more of a disgrace than Oscar Pistorius, so I wanted to kind of circle that with some really light stuff. But what I was pleased about was that I think with my rounds there was definitely a beginning, middle and end. With a lot of battles, people kind of say time, and it's like, oh really? I didn't realize that was the end. I felt with mine it was every single time. In fact, the second one I forgot to say time, but everyone knew it finished because it led up to that point. So I was pleased with that, and I'm really hoping I can do that for the tournament, that it's just that 60 seconds, but everyone knows where it's going, then it hits there, and then I can stop and let the other person do whatever they need to do.
Let me
But I
ask you.
will say, in the room, so my friend Josh, actually, he gave it to Anki 2-1 in the room, and I think pretty much everyone else kind of gave it to me. But it just goes to show that's a person's opinion. So you can't say he's right or he's wrong. I mean, obviously he's wrong, but that's his opinion, and it's everyone's opinion is valid. I think that goes back to what you were saying. Like, if my opinion is respected in battle rap, maybe it's respected as a fan, but it certainly doesn't hold as much weight as the guys who have competed time and time again.
Right. So let me quantify what I mean by that, because if I'm one thing in this genre, it's constantly misunderstood, but that's partly because I failed to articulate well enough. What I mean by respect is battle rap is a fickle thing. Praise can be misconstrued as an ill-fated compliment. A dig can be then misconstrued as something worse than it is. What I mean by respected is fandom in battle rap is there's tiers to it. There's people that have seen it all and therefore know what they're looking at, and then there's people that have seen very little and react to baser things that battlers in particular will go, sorry, you missed the point. That's not what I was doing. And it's almost not an insult, but it's certainly like, oh, come on, man, you didn't catch what I've worked hard on this. I need you to kind of follow me. Battle rap is one of those vocations that kind of demands a little bit from its audience. Do you know what I mean? So what I mean by respect is when you give an appraisal or an opinion or a critique, I think you're respected in the sense of you've seen plenty, you've commented on plenty, and more often than not, your opinion is one that people can largely see the genesis of and can opine to say, well, look, even if I disagree, I can see what you're saying, I can appreciate what you're saying, cool. Versus someone that just comes out and says, like, I was reacting to the Quill Gemini one, and the thing that got me was the comments that Don't Flop were projecting onto the board. And some of those fan opinions were things just like, oh, this is shit. Why don't they just make Luna and Sharty battle? And you go, that's a bad opinion. That's a bad battle rap opinion right here. Do you know what I mean? And there's tiers to it. So that's really what I mean by saying that your opinion in battle rap is respected, because as a fan, I think you know what you're looking at more often than not.
Yeah, and I think I always try and be as sorry, the screen went off. I always try and be as respectful as I possibly can be, because ultimately the people doing it, I know how much effort it takes to put well, I know how much effort it takes me. For some people, they might find it super easy, and you can't argue with that. But the effort, the memorizing, and then you got your travel, you got your hotels. There's so much work that goes into it, and no matter how talented anyone is, I think the hard work they put in dwarfs that talent. So,
averting my past indiscretions, let me ask you a question, because I'm curious as a fan who, look, I'd never do it. There's no amount of money on the earth that would compel me to even try. But I can't lie and say that, man, what would I do in the situation of, right, I've now got to think about someone for 2 months, write every nasty thing I can think of within reason, rhyme it, cut it down, and then figure a way of performing it so people can get what I'm talking about, right? How would I do it? Okay. That's as a fan, but knowing full well I'll never have to fucking actually do it. It can stay a fantasy. Being a fan for as long as you were, and being as passionate as you were for so long, how did that inform how you wanted to perform? Like, you're not coming at it from I'm a musician who's maybe trying battle rap as a form of exposure. I'm not a content creator who's maybe looking at trying something a little bit different creatively. You're someone that had a passion and an understanding of what the scene was and decided to give it a try, knowing what you liked about battle rap and what you didn't like about battle rap. And you had the choice to imbue yourself with elements that you did and don't like, as well as what you could bring to the table. Talk to me about how you felt about that.
I had a really interesting conversation with Raptor, and we were talking about someone else, and he was saying, I'm not going to say it's not because it's bad, it's just, again, it's not my story to tell, but he was saying that this person is so good because they are themselves. They're not trying to be anyone else. And, you know, I'm a guy with a double amputation who is in a wheelchair. So I'm not going to be coming up saying I'm going to knock you out or I'm going to shoot you in your face. I don't know, pick a body part.
I kind of want to see you say both of those things in the tournament now, but go ahead.
So, you know, I'm not going to do that. So what am I? Who am I? You've got, don't pretend to be anyone else. So I'm a bit of a gobshite. I'm quite sarcastic. I'm happy to take the piss out of myself, as long as you know I'm going to take the piss out of you as well. Where can we go with this? So, so my audience really was an audience of one, and that was me. And I was just writing stuff down to see if I enjoyed it. And then I kind of figured I know what's usually what works. So if I think it's going to work, there's a good chance. I was also aware that a lot of people outside, not a lot of people, but some people outside of Battle Rap know who I am from being on TV, doing interviews for the fundraising, whatever. So those people know who I am. So if I try and present a completely different version of myself, they're going to know I'm faking it, and I'm going to know I'm faking it. So yeah, it was simply, what am I good at? I'm good at sarcasm. I'm good at jokes. I'm good at gauging what other people will find funny most of the time. So let's do that. And then who am I battling against? Okay, Anki, he's got cerebral palsy. And then I actually had a line about Uzdi in there. And then Uzdi had his moment in London, the Havisham Arms maybe. He kind of got himself into a situation. So then I thought, actually, I can utilize that in, because I didn't want to be just another disabled rapper. I knew I had to be for the first time, because, you know, that's what I am. But I wanted to kind of get all that out of the way. So that's fine. And then going forward, you won't really hear any disabled jokes from me, unless something happens in the news or something I can bring into it. Because you never want to be kind of just one-dimensional. Like, who's David? Oh, he's got no legs. Like, and that's where it ends. And you shouldn't ever have to be that way, because if you're judging someone on something like that, so we were talking about earlier, like kind of online abuse and everything else, people will say something which, water for ducks back, but I couldn't live if I was like you. And I'm like, what, you couldn't live without your knees? Like, is that where your personality's kept? Is that all there is to you? Like, tell me your good facts about yourself. Oh, I can stand up. Okay, well done. So I was trying to be a bit more than just disabled battle rapper, and the only way I could think to do that was with personality, and to kind of show that there was a little bit more going on.
Is it wrong for me then to kind of admit to something, which is I never looked at you that way? I always looked at you as fan turned battle rapper. Like, not being funny, but that's where my fascination with you really accelerated, was the fact that I knew how passionate you were about something that I fear ever even attempting, because of the nature of it. The nature of battle rap is, it's not quite warrior mentality, but there's a strict code that everyone has to adhere to if you're going to participate. You have to treat it with respect and reverence. You have to pay homage and understand it's not contrary to the belief of what I think most people on the outside would look at it. It's not just turning up and saying, I have the biggest penis and your mum's a slut, and calling it a day. It's you have to, it's an amalgamation. Sorry?
Sometimes it is that.
Sometimes it is, if it fits the cat. Yeah. So that's why I find it interesting the way you've epitomized how you want to direct yourself as a battler. You want to use battle rap as an extension of who you truly are to enable you to perform. Some battlers, I would say, maybe do that, but I would argue that they're characterizations or caricatures of themselves that allow them to say things that they wouldn't actually ordinarily say themselves. And sure. But that's the beauty of the art form, is right, but can you sell that to an audience? Do they buy it when you do it? Yes or no? If the answer's no, they're going to let you know pretty quickly with their silence that what you're doing ain't working. But the second they start rising and they start gelling with you, that might give you confidence to continue. And that's why that jump from fan to battler is fascinating to me, because I don't know many people that when they really are honest with themselves would have the bravery to try that. Because it's not just everything about you that's examined. It's everything you've ever done, everything you've ever said, everything that can be inferred about you is now fair game. And it's, okay, I've got to sit and listen to someone call me a cunt for 20 minutes. Sweet. That sounds great. Right. Sign me up. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's that jump that fascinates me.
It's real simple, because I think I've already kind of given the answer. So kind of going back to my school days when I was just surrounded by support and really love, basically, and good vibes. And then I kind of everything I've ever done. Here's the thing. Everything I've ever done, it's been because no one has told me that I couldn't. So when I was 11, I tried out for the school football team in goal. Now, in any reasonable world, a kid with the 2 artificial legs, and this is like back in 1990, so they're the heavy metal, not the kind of new carbon fiber stuff. So a kid wearing those should never think that he can try out for the school football team. But no one told me I couldn't, so I did it anyway. And 24-hour push around the lake, no one told me I couldn't. When I brought it up, everyone supported me. So go and do it. The reason I did 30 marathons, I don't think I ever actually answered this. The reason I did 30 marathons in 30 days was because I did my first one and I got to the end and I thought, I could actually do that again right now. So I brought up 30 marathons. Everyone was like, well, you've done everything else you said you were going to do, so do this. So again, with battle rap, it's kind of, I think I messaged a few people just saying, "What, you've met me? Do you think I could do this?" And they all come back and give it a try. Why not? But I think being a fan for so long definitely helped me, because I knew what I was going into. I'd been to short circuits before. I kind of knew most people there. I kind of had an idea what would work with that audience and that crowd. And the best thing about my battle, I think, is if you look back at it, the person laughing the most, and he's got his head in his hands whilst he does that, is Frost. You see Frost loads of times going like, oh no, but he's laughing. And I think who's he next to Wax? He's doing the same. So people are enjoying what's going on, even if they're kind of proper groaning at the same time. Now, the thing is, that style, I think, will only take you so far. So I have to kind of understand how I can be more aggressive whilst within the limitations of my physicality. Not saying that I can't just go out there and kind of roar at people, but you also don't want to do it so it looks silly. That's the thing I don't want to be. I want to be someone who laughs at me, and if it's, sorry, I said that completely wrong. Freudian slip. I want to be someone that, you know, people laugh with, not someone that people laugh at because they're just kind of being silly or foolish or whatever. So, but then maybe that's me just kind of having far too much to think about myself. And
I would counter that. I think you're giving it the consideration that you should be, because, and I don't know if anyone has, it's been mentioned a couple of times, Premier Battles are doing a thing in a few months. It's kind of like a seismic shift of general proportions, in so much as they're not doing their current model, they're shifting to a completely different model. And it turns out this guy's in the tournament. He's in the group of death.
No, the group development.
Well, because that's my question. By the way, do you know if your group's changed? Because there's been some reshuffles, right? So has yours been affected at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. Okay. In which case, that's good, because what I'm about to then say is...
They're not going to drop a name into our group, because it would be no fun for anyone. It'd be like going to a football match and seeing someone win 25-0. It just wouldn't be any fun. Well, for the winner or the loser.
You say that again, like this, because again, right? I'm saying this like I'm setting up a joke. I mean this with all sincerity, right? The point of this tournament is to shed this notion that there are people who can battle, and then there's everybody else. And right, we have to find people that can battle other people that can battle. Oh, it turns out either they are all retired, don't want to battle each other because they already have, don't see the sense of it, and or are busy. Oh, well, we've got no one that can battle anyone. Right, what do we do about that? Well, we need to blood new talent. We need to ingratiate an audience to new talent. And we need to do it in a way that makes sense narratively and figuratively and on a consistent basis. You have signed up for the tournament. You are in a group with 3 other competitors. The first question I have is, what prompted you to sign up for it?
It was suggested to me by a couple of people that the Academy tournament would be a really good place for me to kind of learn and develop. And I turned it down. No, not I turned it down. That's completely wrong. I didn't enter because at the time I thought there's lots of events, got the kids. Also, I'm kind of pretty old. Don't take up a spot that someone younger and really looking to make a kind of an impact. Don't take a spot away from that. Not saying that if I'd entered, I would have been accepted. I'm just saying it wasn't right for me at the time. And yeah, I may not have been kind of put in anyway. But I had asked, like, oh, can I have another battle at some point, please? Because I really enjoyed doing it. And I'm fairly central, I can travel to anywhere. And then obviously the news broke that this was what was going on. And I just thought, if I don't enter this, the chances of me ever battling again are pretty minimal. So I thought, I'll put my name in. I'm not expecting to get picked. And I genuinely wasn't, especially when I saw kind of people like Viz and Frost and Crow and then D Burke and Dub T and people like that. So I was looking at that thinking, okay, it's a level above me, or several levels above me, and especially in terms of experience. Okay, never mind. And I was in the garden. I had the live stream going, so Briggsy is kind of to my right, and on this screen in front of me, it's how much of a dork I am. I'm playing Championship Manager 0102, just because I found a download of it.
The connoisseur's choice, of course.
Yeah. So back then, I was when the Champions League had like 2 group phases. So I'm listening to kind of Briggsy talk about the groups and what's going on, and I'm kind of playing this game, and then I'm just kind of putting a comment in whenever I've got something to say. And then he brought it up, and I think the first person he said about was Dej, and then he kind of said DW, and I genuinely fell off my chair because I was trying to turn around to look, and I just kind of went, whoa, and just kind of crash landed on the floor. And then you can see in the comments I put something like, holy cow, just because I, hadn't been given a heads up or anything. It was just, hey, you're in. And Briggs said some really nice things about me, and other people in the comments were like, DW, let's go, man. Let's, and already that's what I'm talking about. The level of support that for some reason I get. It's just like, okay, so now obviously I'm not going to turn up half-hearted anyway, but all these people have kind of just, so yeah, crazy moment. And I came in and tried to explain to my partner how crazy it was, and she just kind of went, oh, all right, how's your game?
As you do. That's a fair response. I mean, the question I have then, and I mean this with all sincerity, because I picked you to win the whole thing. But
of course you did.
What do you hope to achieve in the tournament? Genuinely speaking, like, I know that everyone is supposed to go, well, I want to win, obviously. But again, I look at this tournament as an opportunity for guys to just showcase themselves. And that can be to a multitude of ends. For you, what do you hope to accomplish contribute or derive from the tournament as it is right now? You're in the group phase. No one's had a battle yet. Blank slate. What are you hoping to kind of do or achieve?
Well, yeah. So on the spaces later that night, someone said to me, like, with 6 more battles experience, could I beat Visual in the final? And I'm never going to sit there and go, oh no, I'm too scared. I couldn't know. He'll definitely beat me. That's never been my approach to anything. But with the greatest will in the world, a DW or someone of my level versus a Visual, it would be 1,000,000 to 1 chance. But as someone very clever once said, 1,000,000 to 1 chances turn up 9 times out of 10. So, no, what I'm looking to do is gain experience. I'm looking to battle. I'm looking forward to battling different people. So, Dedge, I know because I've seen a couple of his academy battles. Beyond, I think I've seen, and 7 Wave, I think, was in the academy. So they're very different to Anki. They're very different to me. It's gonna be an awesome experience. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I've got a good story going into it. Kind of, Cammy said I could be like the babyface of the tournament. So that's something to think about. I think I have an opportunity, and it's a really big opportunity. It's a really big platform, and it's something I'm very grateful for. To showcase what I can do. So, like I said in the marathons, all I have to do in the marathons is turn up, do it, not die. It's very similar with this: turn up, do it, be good, don't be shit. And anyone might be watching. I'm not saying, like, oh, Eminem's going to be watching or anything like that. I mean, anyone could be watching and see it. And, this is going to sound really, really cringy. But if someone sees a guy in a wheelchair with no legs battle rapping, and they've been wondering if they could do it, I wonder if seeing me do it, because I'm the person you'd be least likely to be expecting, maybe that could trigger something in someone else. I mean, you've got people like Angie, who I'm a huge fan of. I'm a fan of her battling and her music. So what she does in terms of opening doors, I think can't be underestimated. So I don't know. I think, again, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I do think it's going to be a lot of fun either way.
The fact that he's being proposed as some sort of face leads me to believe that there's a heel turn afoot at some stage in the tournament, ladies and gentlemen. And I
haven't got any heels, Lorne. I can't do a heel turn.
Really? Really? He's going to do me like that, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm surprised it's taken till now for him to do me like that. Okay, fine, smart ass. I'm going to flip the script on you and say, right, okay. Do you see yourself winning your group or qualifying for your group? And if so, who are you bodying? Come on now, enough of this humble shit. I need to see DW. We're talking to David Williamson right now, and that's great and that's fine. But I need to see DW. I need to see, yo, fuck you.
Do you know what? It's been interesting watching some of the battlers put out their picks, and a couple of people have put me up 1 or 2. I think Sean Cray did, and Sean Cray has no reason to just say that to be nice, because obviously I've met him. He's a really nice guy. Most people I've met are nice guys, or they're nice to me at least. So, but
but Sean Cray's an interesting, because he's had a journey himself. Like, I saw one of his earlier battles at Plug 3, and I remember seeing him and how he felt after his again, it's not one of his first battles, but I think it might have been, if it wasn't his debut, it's one of his earlier promos on BAM. From then to seeing him get on stage with Frankie Fraser and rock a room, it could be so. And look, I'm maybe speaking out of turn. Maybe he sees a little bit of himself and the journey he's had in you, in the sense of a certain disposition, a certain outlook on things, a certain approach, like something like that. That maybe that's what it is. Because, like you, I don't think he doesn't speak flippantly, despite his reputation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to ask him that, but yeah, for he said I think 1 or 2 he put me out. So yeah, he it's not like he'd say that just to be nice. I don't think, because I think he always comes across as someone who says exactly what he thinks. So for someone, I mean, I was there in the building for Sean versus Frankie, and it was just amazing. Did it get Battle of the Year? Did it get Battle of the Year?
I think it might have done. I think when I reviewed it, Prem had put either Battle of the Year or Battle of the Year contender for sure. And it was, if you've not seen it, one of those proper, again, I put it up as, you think he's had a great, oh man, he's got to come back. And then he does, and you go, oh, Sir has a battle on his hands. Lovely. And they go through it the whole battle. It's fantastic. Yeah. Brilliant battle. Agreed.
A couple of other people have kind of, I sound a bit like Trump there, don't I? Many people have said, but a few people have kind of said they thought, and they're just kind of going off kind of one tryout. So again, I wouldn't want to let those people down. I wouldn't want to make them look like mugs. Like, you said he'd do well. He's not. He's rubbish. He's turned up. He doesn't know anything. He's tried to do a freestyle about, I don't know, mice. Would that work?
I'm not qualified. Again, in the same way, I know you want to defer to people. Say, well, I'm not sure. Dude, I'm the least qualified person to tell you whether or not a bar is good or not. I can only tell you I liked it, and half the time I like something, everyone goes, really? So I'm not qualified for that. But look. I have one final question for you, and then I have to let you get back to the real world. Assuming that you go far in the tournament, or you do well enough in your own mind in the tournament, right? Obviously, part of it is to build up your reputation within Battle Rap, but also the whole premise of the tournament is to showcase Premier Battles and, to an extent, Battle Rap to a new audience, to endear it to a new, not necessarily age demographic, but certainly people that aren't aware of Battle Rap, right? Let's say the thing takes off, okay, and it does, and you're someone that they go, listen, man, we really appreciate how you performed. We think you were a big part of the success of it because you contributed in ways that other competitors didn't. What would be your ideal scenario as a result of the tournament? Again, I'm not saying you have to win and claim the prize money and the title and fly around the world bodying everybody. But let's say you are approached to say, no, we see potential in you to be a regular on cards that we do, or maybe if we do this again next year or a contemporary version of it. What would you hope is an outcome from the tournament?
I don't know if this is aiming big or. Do you know that?
And what would it mean to you as well?
I'm not really prepared. It was a question I'm not prepared for. What would I want out of it?
Well, because it's what it means to you as well. Like I say, as a fan and now as a battler, like like you say, I realise how big an opportunity is this, because look at the names you're in there with. You might come face to face with one of them at some point, because it's a tournament. It's not, oh, well, we feel bad, so we're going to check. No, you won your way to that bracket. You won your way to that final. Like, you're there on merit at that point. How would you feel? What would you want to kind of look back and go, man, I did that, and that means a lot to me. Like, talk to me about
that. For me, it wouldn't be like a financial thing or a physical thing. I think it would be to perform well enough to really earn the respect of the people I want to be my peers in this sport. To kind of shed the disabled battler tagline and just be viewed alongside kind of the people I've been a fan of for so long and I've met, getting a handshake off someone and saying that was really good, that I think is the best feeling in the world. And I've had that in other spheres. whether it's fundraising, whether it's endurance events, whether it's people sending me messages at 3 a.m. to say, my little boy is really going through a tough time and reading what you've done has really helped us. So I'm one of those people that I'm really difficult to buy for, because there's nothing I really want, because I've got everything I want. And I haven't got much. I haven't got anything, really. We haven't really got anything, but I don't really want anything or need anything like that. I think I've always had a little demon on my shoulder kind of pushing me to be the best that I possibly can be. My mum knew this. My mum knew that when you grow up as a disabled child, you have to be 10% further along than everyone else to be considered equal. Because if you're not better, I'm using that term loosely, if you're not better, then there is the possibility people will think you're being given a free ride because of your disability. So I guess what Premier Battles, the opportunity they've given me, is to prove and show that I am as good as everyone else. I'm saying this really clumsily, so I apologise for that. But so that whenever, if ever, I'm booked on a card, and I know Premier Battles wouldn't book anyone just because they feel bad for them or anything else. They're too professional an organisation to do that. I get that. It's more for like in my head, so that I know myself that if I'm there, it's there for merit or for whatever I've produced beforehand. Does that make sense?
I would summarise it like this: instead of you being booked on a card and everyone going, oh that's good, that's lovely, that's great, you want people going, fuck yeah, DW's let's go in for some bars, lads. Because it's like you say, it's the respect, it's the, look, I'm earning this on my own merits, just that's all I want. I don't want anything more than that. I don't want to be, because as much as I'm joshing you for the humility thing, I'm exactly the same as you when it comes to, if someone pays me a compliment, if I disagree with the compliment, I go, well, look, I appreciate how you feel. Respectfully, though, I reject your compliment because I don't see the merits in it. I get why they do it, and it's just that thing of, look, if I've earned it, cool. Don't feel I've earned it. I don't want it because I don't feel like I deserve it. It's the same with respect in what you do. You want to be respected based on your contribution and afforded opportunities in line with it. But that line is hard when you've got your own expectations of yourself. That's the thing I look at when I'm hearing what you're saying. You have expectations of yourself that you're trying to realize. Yeah. And it's not always easy to do that considering your circumstances. You have come to battling late, number one, and number two, you're trying to do it with children, which, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, day expensive and day time consuming, but it's great. Wouldn't trade it for the world. I would just say the lottery win prior would have helped. But, like, you know what I mean?
Let me kind of try and illustrate it the best way I can, which is telling a long rambling story. So when I kind of was first of an age to be going to pubs, I used to get a lot of compliments that were well meant, I think, from kind of older people saying, oh, you've got no legs, but you're out for a drink and you've got a job. That's amazing. Well done, you. Because I was the only disabled person in the pub, or whenever I went clubbing when I was at uni, I was the only person in a wheelchair doing it. So I'd always get told how amazing I was. It was, oh, you're so good, you're so brave, all this. And unfortunately, unless you're a much stronger person than me, if you get a compliment over and over and over and over and over again, you kind of start to believe it. So for a while, I was far too, to use an expression I use for my kids, I was far too big for my boots. I was far too arrogant, having accomplished nothing and done nothing to earn any kind of praise I was getting, apart from doing what pretty much everyone does, which is, in my kind of experience, get a job, go to the pub afterwards. So when I started doing kind of fundraising and distance events, I was always very, very careful to whatever compliments I got, just to kind of park them like 10 meters away from me. So they're saying that, but I've not earned that yet. I've not earned it yet. And when things got a little bit bigger and they progressed, and I went from doing kind of 10 miles to 24 hours to a marathon, a little bit of the attention would come from just local newspapers, like nothing big, and kind of awards and things like that. And I was always very, very careful. It's a lovely compliment, but don't let it mean anything, because you've been there before and you hadn't earned it. So wait till you have earned it. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. I want to get to a position where I've earned people's respect, not been given a pat on the back that I don't deserve yet, just because I'm doing it in a wheelchair. And I'm not saying people are doing that. I'm saying that's my fear for myself, for my own kind of ego, I guess.
Fully understand that. And again, the tournament is happening soon, so you'll have the opportunity to whoop everybody's ass and claim the title for your own. But before you get there, I'm sure most people who were unfamiliar with either one of your sets of work at this point would very much like to know how they might get behind your boy. So can I ask, if people are interested in following your journey through the Premier Battles Where Winning Matters tournament, or indeed any of your other endeavours outside of it, what's the best way to support you, follow you, interact with you, all that good jazz? How can they get a hold of you?
I'm literally only on Twitter at the Irish Ego, because I'm too young for Facebook and too old for Instagram.
I resent that, because I'm on Facebook and Instagram. So
well, you need to have a long, hard look at yourself.
He's not wrong.
Wow.
If he's just, again, the person, he's a perfect battler, isn't he? He's just going after me the whole interview, just,
I've said like two things. Come on.
I'm just saying, but so Twitter basically, and
yeah, that's kind of it.
And carry a raven, perhaps, if they're feeling really spicy.
If you go, I say this through the reason that I find it really, really funny. If you Google David Williamson wheelchair, it actually comes up with one of those AI biographies of me. That's how.
Yes, it does. No, it does. No, he's right. I chucked it in because some of the award acronyms I'm not familiar with, and it says a well-known proponent and winner of this award is, and there's your thing right there. So no, that's true. That's 100% true.
That's how famous I am. That's what I'm bringing to this.
In that case, then, just on record, because what you don't know is usually what I do is I press stop. I just cut the person off after they do their socials and the plugs. Just on record, I genuinely am excited to see what you're doing in the tournament. Again, and I must stress the point, maybe from a weird one-off perspective compared to everyone else, just because you've done something that I know I don't have the balls to do, irrespective of my physical capacity, which is indulge a fandom of mine to the extreme by actually living the dream and actually giving it a go. And for that, I'm infinitely jealous of your ability to be able to go, fuck it, let's go, lads. So at the very least, know that I'm going to be paying attention to your bracket, because I need to see how you're doing, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.